So today I will be covering Jinx. I think she is an objectively weaker Annie, but I think she has a lot of merit on her own. I think she's a lot of fun. She's also very cheap compared to Annie. You don't need Kaisers and Darius, for at least for the version that I'm playing and that I've seen success with. So I think she's definitely worth looking into. She's also just a really cool character. Obviously, judging by the playmat, I loved Arcane. I loved playing her in League for the. I don't play League anymore. Don't worry, you can stay on the video. But yeah, so we'll start off with the chosen champion, which is the Accelerate Jinx. I think before I should probably cover Legend ability. If you have one or fewer cards in hand at the beginning of the phase, you draw a card. So the entire point of this deck is to just dump your hand as fast as humanly possible. But I actually don't agree with that. Who knew drawing cards was better than not drawing cards? The mistake Jinx players will make is go down to 0 cards in hand, and that limits their options massively. If you can keep mana up, have 1 card in hand, next turn you're going to 3, you then have a very broad skill expression, but you also have you have a lot you can do during the next turn. And keeping 1 card in hand, especially with the amount of hidden that we play, you can really screw with people's minds playing this deck. So there is draw in this deck, of course there would be, but as a way to replenish your hand late game and to not be punished really for, playing aggro, a little bit like Annie, because Annie can sometimes run out of steam, especially because they're playing stuff out of their hands so early, and it's why the Kaisers are absolutely vital in Annie. You cannot play Annie to a high standard without them. But Jinx gets away with that, and draw on a leader is always going to be good. So, but yeah, the Accelerate Jinx. So when you play her, you discard 2. She's got Assault 2, and she can accelerate herself in. So, she's great. She's significantly better. I've tested the Purple Jinx extensively. I thought, oh, fun combo discard and all that crap, and it just never worked out. Turns out having an Accelerate unit that does 6 might out the gate is actually remarkable. It's absolutely absurd. The discard 2 occasion comes up. There have been games. I remember one of my games, I think against a Victor player, I opened 3 scrap heap, went second, just dropped this, and just kept my hand full and has 6 might unit on board. Like, that's something you can do. But she's very good. 6 might, with like stuff like cleave, you can get really big. But she has a lot of potential. She is 4 might, so she does get over, stuff like Gust and, Hextech Rays and not quite Void Seeker, sadly. That card is very, very strong. But I think this is absolutely the one you play over Purple Jinx, unless we get more discard synergy in the future where you can really start doing some incredible stuff with Purple Jinx. You might even want to main deck her, but yeah, so that's champion and chosen champion. We will then begin with the main deck, which we will be starting off with, of course, 3 stack deck. There is absolutely no reason not to play stack deck. We don't play Raza. We actually don't play anything that cares about the number of cards in our discard, besides Vi, of course. But what stack deck gets you is Surge. It gets you draw. Like, there have been a lot of times going second where sadly you don't hit your 2-drop. Okay, we'll stack deck, we'll get the 2-drop, and now we're in a better spot. Or it can, oh, I've got the Chemtech Enforcer and I've got stack deck going second. Alright, let's just see if I can hit the chompers, let's see what is my next draw. Can I hit a fight or flight when I need it? There is, this is one of the best cards in the game, frankly, and it should absolutely be a 3 of. In my first tournament, I was only playing 2 because I only had access to 2. I got one during for my Nexus Night promo, as you can see, which I was very happy about to run out of playset. But yeah, there are decks that use this card better, Teemo specifically. But yeah, 3 stack deck is absurd and should always be the way to go. We don't play 2 Gust. We're going to go by energy cost and all that stuff. I don't love Gust. I think if you're going first, it's really good because you just shove like a merchant on base or on battlefield, and then you kind of just go right stack deck, hopeful. You leave 1 up, then you can Gust away whatever they play. It's really good into Ravenbloom actually, because a lot of the time they won't commit to make Ravenbloom a 4. Yeah, and if they go in second, mostly what they're doing is a 3 energy 3-drop. So Gust can occasionally help with that. But yeah, I do think the next card is just better overall, which is 2 Hextech Ray. I'm going to put a third of this inside. It's not currently inside. I'd like to make that clear. But this card is absolutely ridiculous. Like, yes, it's a power. But this deck, I mean, there have been I'm winning games with one like rune up. Do you know what I mean? Like one rune in deck, I flip to 3 and I'm still winning the game because what this offers is incredible interaction that people are expecting, but it always catches them out. And the thing is, with this profile specifically, we do run a fair bit of interaction because there is no point mindlessly aggroing to bases if you cannot protect what's on your bases. That's pointless. Because all you're doing is you're giving them tempo and control. You need to maintain that pressure by trying to protect your units as best as possible. And Hextech Ray does that superbly. We then play to Cleave. This is the most underwhelming card I've ever played. Maybe it was just my matchups. I mean, we'll get into that later, but, you know, Ari, Leona, and Kai'Sa is just like, this card is just dead. I respect into stuff like Yi and Aurora MF. Potentially, this can be really good. But I didn't love it. That's a third inside, but that's just my own personal experience. We're now going to get on to the good stuff, the units, which will be 3 Merchant, Shock Horror. This is, I want to argue, the best 2-drop in the game, perhaps one of the best 2-drops in the game, because it does everything Jinx wants to do. It helps our discard synergy, so you can move this, get Chompers, get Scrap Heap. And you're just laughing. It's filter, so you're drawing more cards, you're binning more things that you don't need, and it's got 2/2. It's not a 2/1, thank God. So 3 Merchant is absolutely unquestionable. You never change that. You then play 3 Enforcer for a similar reason as Merchant. I mean, this thing is a 2-drop 4 power when it's attacking because it's got Assault 2, which is just remarkable. There's absolutely no reason not to. And then when you play him, discard 1, which is also really nice because it's, once again, you hit your Scrap Heaps, you get value, you hit Chompers, you get value. I mean, turn 1, the best turn 1 objective in this deck is, you know, you go Enforcer into Chompers. And now you've developed 2 bodies, you then put them both on base, and with the interaction we've got, reasonably you can get to like 4 points on at the beginning of your 3rd turn. And then you just start laying stuff in base, and it becomes very difficult to interact with. So Enforcer's a no-brainer. 3 Vi, because it is absurd. For those that don't know, you recycle 1 from your trash and give her +1, and she has ganking. So you just drop a Vi, you ride the wind, you gank over. It's a very, very simple combo. So I played 6 games, won 5, lost 1, so I had a 2-1 record and a 3-0 record. This didn't come up once via Ride the Wind. Actually, that is a lie. It came up once against Victor, but I was already so far ahead of that game that it didn't matter. But to deal with Watchers, to deal with massive units, you know, like White Flame, like, it's just an answer. And a very good one. It can be fight offlighted. It can be, you know, removed. It can be interacted with, which sucks. Like, against Leona, this card was literally just a immediate discard, because they're never going to let it not be stunned. But into everything else, this card is absolutely ridiculous. 2 Polaroid for Kai'Sa. Now, I was originally playing 3. I dropped one of my copies for a 3rd stack deck, and I don't miss this card. It's very useful when it is. Against the Leona player, actually, it put him behind the entire game because they decided to stun this in base to get a buff on their unit, which was a complete mistake because they were just behind the entire game. So occasionally, if your opponent misplays into it, it's good. And then my favorite card, 2 of the Rat. Look, the Rat it's incredible. Like, okay, Hidden is fantastic in this game, in this deck, in this game as a whole. But in this deck, it's fantastic because what you can do. Oh, I've got 2 cards in hand. Okay, great. I'll hide 1. I'm now drawing 2 at the beginning of my phase, and I've put up an additional threat. Power does not matter to you. There's been so few times where I've been like, I'm just 1 energy off, man. Like, it just doesn't happen because this deck is so low costed that it doesn't particularly matter. Having an additional 4 might is really good. It can occasionally help with Watcher because, you know, this won't be affected by Watcher when it's face down on battlefield. So if you've overcommitted, you know, you can somewhat save yourself or at least trade out with Watchers, which is super nice. Against the owner, this was invaluable completely. I'd love to play a 3rd, but I think 2 is enough. I always had it when I needed it, and it was always fantastic. 2-drop spells, 3 fight or flight, shock horror. Once again, hidden. Move unit battlefield to base. This deck does kind of play like a protect the president kind of thing. Not like Lee Sin, where they just want to build up the one guy, but in the sense that, yes, we have to take the risk and put our stuff on battlefields. That's just the way this deck works. But also equally, if we get, you know, if we're hidden here and then Kaiser's like Void Seeker, great, move it back to base. They've now wasted 3, and I've still got my unit, which can then reconquer, you know, potentially triggering conquer effects, which there aren't any in his deck. But with Merchant, it's another draw discard. Okay, now I'm getting chompers on your turn. That's an additional effect you need to deal with. No less than a 3 off the card is absolutely ridiculous. 3 Ride the Wind. I was siding this out in certain matchups because if you don't have the Vi, the card does become kind of dead. But on occasion, it is super nice, especially when you've got Accelerate in the Champ Zone. But, you know, it can just be, oh, I need, you know, I've held here and I need one more thing. I don't have a Accelerate unit. Okay, great. Just slam Merchant, slam this, and, you know, that's how you win. It's pretty scrappy, but it does help. There's a reason why this card is seeing a bit of a price spike right now, so hopefully you already own them. Mind you, I said price spike. If you're in the UK, I'm so sorry. Our card market is just absolutely fucking abhorrent. But yeah, no more, no less than 3. You could argue 2 main deck, but and I did occasionally side it out. But Vi Ride the Wind is just too good. And then Scrap Heap. This is a game changer. I don't know who's the person who discovered this in Jinx or in Annie, like, but yeah, being able to move Merchant and then get 2 draws off of it and just continue, like, you're accelerating your game plan massively. You're not being punished for discarding, and this is a cost, okay? Discarding is a cost. It is not a benefit. It is so rarely a benefit. There are 2 cards in the game that care about being discarded. Yeah, you've then got Mundo. Once again, like, there are better, you know, trash synergies. That's fine. That's different. But cards that care about being discarded, 2. And this is one of them. And it's the arguably better one. Absolute worst case, there have been times where this was just dead in hand, and I was kind of like, oh, well, just play it. Like, I desperately need a filter right now, because I need to find a fight or flight to move you off a base to win. But very flexible card, absolutely ridiculous. I did start with 3 in hand at one game, and that was the easiest game I've ever played. Onto our 3 drops. Chompers. So when you discard them, you can play a red power to play them. Yeah, who would have guessed it? This is ridiculous. Enforcer into this, Merchant into this. It's just free pressure. And you can float mana in this game, so you can just, like, if it's turn 2, you can just tap your 4, float it, move this, then you've still got the 4 energy, and you're still getting this for free. So, Chompers is brilliant, no less than 3. Like, it's a shame. I wish there were more ways to discard in this deck, because the main ones are just Enforcer, this Jinx, and, of course, Merchant. But we'll see what set 2 brings in terms of that. And then 2 main deck Void Seeker. This card won me games. By, like, against the Leona. Not that the Leona is a massive concern in the meta. It is, everything's a concern for Jinx, who is proving to be on the lower end of the tier list, especially when Annie is just better at Jinx. But this card just dealt with everything that I needed it to. The draw was invaluable. Yes, it does go against our game plan of being able to get more cards in hand. But occasionally, you know, I would Void Seeker, or I would draw into a Ray or a Gust, and then that would still get me down to my 1 to then continue filtering. Because sometimes you don't have the units, or sometimes you don't need to just dump your hand, especially if they're in blue, they can play like unchecked power. You know, sometimes it's best to leave some stuff in hand. But I love this card. I would consider a 3rd inside, but I don't know what to take out. And finally, for the main deck, we've got Noxus Hopeful. The best 2-drop in the game, who would have guessed it. So Legion, it costs 2 less, so even going 2nd, you can, like, reasonably just go stack deck into this. It's just anything that you play. So Seal Variants, love this card, of course, but there's no reason not to play it. It's absolutely brilliant. This was one of the cards I forgot to order, so I was missing it for a while. But yeah, being able to just set up that pressure, especially turn 2, you can, in theory, go like Enforcer into Flame Chompers into Hopeful, and now suddenly you've developed 3 units for 4. And your opponent does just kind of, like, what do they do from that point forward? Because even if, once you've moved them to bases, you've still got 1 guy in the back, you're still developing, they're going to struggle. They are going to massively struggle. Love Noxus Hopeful. Next we'll talk about Side. Let's talk about Side, why not? My Side deck's a bit wacky. There's a lot that I'm going to tell you that I need to change immediately. 1 of Gust to round up the playset. This is probably going to come up for Hextech Ray. Hextech Ray was far more applicable because at least it allowed some really good trades, whereas Gust being a reaction is very good, which is why I can't justify removing it, but it is just kind of sometimes there. 1 Poro, because once again, Kaiser occasionally does come up if you're into a very target-heavy deck, but pretty self-explanatory. 2 Rebuke. This might be 3 at some point. This card won me so many games. Just being able to like move a 6 might Fiora off of a base, being able to move a Watcher or a Faith Folk off of a base, and just secure it is very strong. A lot of the time they would commit to Watcher, and I just, okay, rip you. Now it's back to your hand, you've wasted, you haven't developed board, and I'm still going to hold 2. Like, you're just in trouble now. The 2 power does matter. You need to, when you've got this card in hand, this is your game plan. You do need to play it around your runes, but this is the only time it's inside. But this is this good expression of the deck. This is why I love Jinx so much, because you have options like this that really matter. This could be 3, maybe. I think Teemo plays 3 inside, but I think right now, like, a lot of times you're already kind of winning against those decks, so I don't know, 2 felt really good. Once again, one of those cards that I always had when I needed it. 1 flash, I appreciate. This can just be anything for you, because this is a £15 common. Fuck you, Riot. But yeah, once again, protect the president. It being a reaction is very good, by the way, because if they fall in comet, like the 2 things in your base, flash, no, fuck you, back to base. Falling star, sorry. I always get that one. What was it? The red 2 power, you know what I mean. So this being a reaction does come up. So against like Kai'Sa, I love siding this in, but it's a one-off. I'm going to be honest, this is a great card, as and when. I think Fight or Fly is better, but Flash did come up a lot. 1 Sundisk, this card's getting out. Like, the idea was, oh, it's good for Kai'Sa because I could just, like, play a guy. But the Legion effect is so difficult to... It's not difficult to trigger in his deck, but it's just not worth triggering his deck a lot of the time. Because it's like, well, I would rather just hold my interaction. So this is coming out probably for either the Hextech Ray, the Third Rebuke, or we will see. But it was a fun thing to test, but it never got sided in, even against Kai'Sa, because they just, like... I was just looking at my profile and I was like, this is just pointless. And finally, 2 Brazen Buccaneer. These will probably become Draven, because it's just a better way of dealing with Kai'Sa. But, admittedly, this worked wonders. There was a game, in fact, against Kai'Sa during my second tournament. This won me the game by a country mile. I had 2 of these, and both of them discarded Chompers. So I was developing 2 bodies. They would play the Falling Star to remove this, and I'd still have the Chompers. Don't get me wrong, that's a massive, that's the best case scenario with this card. But actually, do not sleep on this. In fact, it may even just be like the Sundisk and the Gust come out just for the Dravens. We'll see. Maybe this stays as a one-off inside. This card, it's not good. It isn't good. But it can have that application, and once again, did win me my games against Kai'Sa. Draven probably would have done a similar thing later in the game, but this allowed me to aggro out, which is obviously what my deck wants to do. So that's side. We'll cover bases. Your best base is probably Zorn Warrens. This is your go. So if you get first, I recommend Zorn Warrens. If you in the best of 3 you get first, you go Zorn Warrens, because it's a non-committal base. It helps with your discard synergy, which is obviously great. It helps with your filtering. Yes, helps your opponent, whatever. But this is so much better for you than it will be them. But it's not your best base, because and you want to save your best base for third, because you're going to lose going second. This deck has just absolutely no leg to stand on going second. So you want to kind of have a throwaway base at that point. So Zorn Warrens for going first. I then go controversial Candlelit Sanctum for going second. Because going second, the way you win the going second matchup is you draw into your interaction, and this allows that. Like Reaver's Row, yes, okay, I tested it, and you know what? Fuck Reaver's Row. Like, look, my deck is good at removing things at battlefields, okay? And sometimes you need that combat, and giving them the safety. Yes, I get the safety, that's great, but I feel significantly more punished for giving my opponent River's Row than I ever do feel the benefit of giving myself it. So I'm testing Candlelit. Next set we get some mill ones, so I'll give that a try. But this is how you can potentially win going second, because the issue with this game is that going first is too strong because of drawing a card. But Candlelit is a good answer to that. And it doesn't, it's one of those cards, it's very mutually beneficial, but it's not one of those cards that like, oh, my opponent got this, they win now. So I like it. And then your third base, which is your best base by a country mile, the Arena's greatest. You make the game a 7-point game instead of an 8-point game. Shock horror, that's really good. These do stack as well, so into like certain Annies, you just like, okay, great, 95. And you will aggro Annie better than she can aggro you, in an ideal world, but obviously they have one more removal. But that's the base lineup, which will be changing for next set. And then runes, they haven't been sorted, but it's a 7-5, 8-4 split. Okay, there you are. I'm very professional. You go 8 red for 4 purple, which could arguably be 3 purple, might I add, because the only purple that you run in your deck, purple power, is the right wind. But Rebuke Sideboard, so we're playing 4 just in case. I have no nice Fury runes, sadly. But that's the profile. There's a lot of things I would change. My matchups were, so the first one, it was Kaiser, which I lost, sadly. It was 2-1, it was very close. I won the first game, and he just drew better. He didn't draw better, he just drew what he needed, and that's how scary Kaiser is. Sometimes you just need to draw decent, and you will still wipe the floor, which is one of the harder matchups. I then played into Victor, which was cleaned up very nicely. Once again, that was the game where I was kind of hitting some stupid things like Fire Ride the Wind, and that one just felt great, especially because they're not putting up a lot on bases, and the stuff that they are isn't very scary. Like, I'm scared of stratagem, but if you just don't overcommit, you're fine. And this thing with this deck, never overcommit, just leave stuff in base, like you don't care about holding. If you can retreat a guy, just reconquer. You're better on the attack than you are to the defense. My final matchup there was Lee Sin, which was fine. Sin was scary because obviously if they get bigger things, it's kind of like, oh, you know, I never really removed the stuff, but with Fight or Flight and Flash, which obviously got sided in, it was kind of like, yeah, but you just deal with combat damage. So I a lot of times just able to get my guys back. He would then have a Sin on base, and then at that point it was kind of, alright, Ray, and I'll throw like an Enforcer at it, and that's now dead. So that is something to consider. It is very good. And then my second round locals, this one I won. I'm not a fraud. It was Kaiser going first. I went 2-1 against that. I honestly just drew really well, and they didn't draw fantastic, but I think it was more so that I did just get some ridiculous answers to what I needed, to what they were playing. So that was really nice. From there, it was then a lovely match against Leona, which I have never been. This is my first time playing against Leona, and yeah, that deck is just, the math on it's actually more annoying than Ari. They're completely eliminating stuff, and it'd be like, oh my god, how much do I commit and how much do I not? But you're just playing base and against that matchup. It's why the deck's not very good. But Zenith Blade is a fantastic card and should absolutely be. You should be scared of it. And then my final matchup into that was the wonderful Ari. Which is the guy I went with, the guy I live with, actually. So we've done that matchup a million times. I fortunately rolled, got first, and from there, it's a clean sweep. The issue is that Ari massively profits from a slow game, and I did not allow that. No. And sadly, at the time, he wasn't testing Aspirant's Climb. I think we might be now, because I think Aspirant's really helps Ari, but for now, I mean, hey, it works in my favor. Sadly, no Nexus Knight packs, which is always disappointing, but that's just the way Riot's going with it. But all of those matchups felt very winnable. Kaiser's really difficult, but this deck, the reason I love it, massive skill expression. There's a lot to think about, and there's always an answer. Like playing the mid-rangey tools, playing the interaction, instead of just being like, I'm just going to tap out every single turn. Yeah, it makes decks far more interesting, and shock horror, it also makes it a fuck ton better. So on that note, I really do hope you enjoyed. I hope you consider trying Jinx. I understand some of these cards are kind of creeping up in price now, if you're in UK, but the most expensive card, to my understanding, is the Trio Stack deck, which are going for about £4 each at the moment. But that really should be it. Vi's not really seeing an insane spike. Scrap Heaps are nothing. Teemo's about £1. So in the event you invested early, and this deck is just made up of bulk. Like there's no epics in here. It's just rares is your highest, and you know, a lot of stuff you can kind of make. You can make choices on what to play. I'm gonna link below to Jinx lists that I used as an inspiration to build mine. Because there's no definitive answer for Jinx right now, and that's why I find this deck very fascinating, and I do think she's very fun. But those are the two that really helped me kind of stabilize and get my mind around playing this. But yeah, if you've come here from Piltover Archive, hooray! If you're not coming here from Piltover Archive, there's a Piltover Archive link in the description to check out the deck profile if you just want to copy it word for word. There's also a write-up on there where I basically go slightly more in depth. Slightly, I'm not a very smart guy, so So, you know, it's not going to be very helpful, but you might as well give it a check out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.